reading this morning will be taken from the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. I'll be reading from the New American Standard. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has become tasteless, how will it be made salty again? It is good for nothing anymore except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do men light a lamp and put it under the peck measure, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. You may be seated.
Good morning, everyone. I believe it's been about 10 years since I've stood up here, if not longer, and so I have recognized many longtime friends and wonderful people, and it is truly an honor to be here. You all look younger and better and thinner, and I have less hair, so it looks like that you have reaped the benefit of that time better than I have. Thank you very much for the eldership, giving me this opportunity to speak, and thank you for my in-laws having me and letting me stay. It is quite humorous to me that I get to see my wife's family more than she does because I travel through Tennessee quite often for various speaking opportunities. It is very nostalgic for me to be here. It feels, I don't know what it feels like, but it's nostalgic and it feels good. It feels good. It feels good that we have loving relationships that after 10, 12 years, I can come back and have fellowship, have those relationships. It makes me very happy. So thank you for giving me this honor to speak for you this morning. Beards. Beards are very controversial in our society today. Everybody has an opinion on a beard. In some corporations, you are not allowed to have a beard. You have to be completely clean shaven. And the reason is, a lot of times in sales, they say that if you have a beard, you look untrustworthy. And a beard can look scruffy. You also have various debates within a marriage that there are some wives that love their men in a full beard. They like the scratchiness of the beard. There's also other women that hate a beard on their husbands, and they find that the scratchiness irritates them. Now, in the military, you cannot have a beard at all. And then you also have, when I was in school, I was at a preaching training school, and they forbid facial hair at all, except for a mustache. I remember I grew a mustache. Everybody mocks me when I have a mustache, so I shaved the mustache. But a beard is something that is powerful, and it is truly the case. It does make all the difference. Because when you are mountain climbing, a beard looks cool. Now, this idea of a beard is something that you make a statement about. Because if you are truly a real man and you can have a full black beard, there is a certain thing that you communicate to the world, that you are strong and rugged. Now, this type of beard is almost like what we talk about, this salt and this light. And Jesus says, if you are somebody of salt, you are making a difference. You are an influence. If you are light, you are somebody who makes a difference, and that you are emanating the light of Jesus Christ to this world. And so we want to talk about, as soon as I figure out how this works, I pushed it. Oh. There we go. It says this, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how shall it be salty, be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are a light of the world. A city set on the hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on the stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Now, in the background of these verses, you will notice that the verses are written to a world in which you are supposed to keep your saltiness to yourself, that you're to keep your light to yourself. The culture behind this text today is the one that says that if you show your Christianity in public, that somehow you are harming people, that somehow you are imposing upon them, that if you show your saltiness to the world, somehow the world has convinced us that we are doing some form of hate speech, or we are doing some form of manipulation, that the last thing you are allowed to do in this society is to share your salt and to share your light, because the world wants you to keep your saltiness, to keep your light to yourself. And so it has almost convinced Christians that it is better not to share the gospel, not to be a light in society, because of this. You may offend me. That we have treated this world and we have treated Christianity, and we believe that political correctness is more essential than us being salt and light. That this is causing us to hide the very essence that teaches us of how to live. The idea of salt is something powerful, and a lot of times we overlook salt in our society. Everybody has salt. You have salt on your table. My wife even buys expensive Himalayan salt. Somehow that's supposed to be better for me. We have fancy salt. We have pink salt, sea salt. We have gourmet salt in our society. But the one thing we all have is salt, and we take it for granted. When this was written, salt was a big deal. In fact, they considered salt divine. Roman soldiers were paid their salary in salt. And that's where the phrase comes from, he's not worth his salt. They believed that salt was one of the most precious commodities on the face of the earth. And that's when Jesus says, you be the salt, you be that precious to the world. But a lot of times people consider salt to be painful. Now, you know what happens if you pour salt on a wound? At first it may sting, but do you know they use salt to heal wounds? I believe that's why Jesus tells us to be the salt of the world. You are not being offensive when you show your saltiness to the world. You're not being a burden to society when you allow your salt to shine and to be used by Jesus Christ. You are the instrument of healing. Our world is sick. It's disgusting. If you look at all the scarring of sin in our society, the thing we need the most is Jesus Christ. We need to have Christianity emanating from every corner of this world. And we are the instrument to do that. Salt heals. Salt brings about positive healing to everybody. And so when the world tries to convince you to keep your saltiness to yourself, it is only bringing upon more sickness upon itself. Don't ever be ashamed of your saltiness. Salt makes a huge difference, because we all know the beard test is the test of true authenticity. Even men do this. Men who can grow a nice beard feel like real men. And we have a picture here of Santa Claus. And we all know the way to test if Santa Claus is real is to pull on the beard. We all know that. Because if you go to the mall and you see this Santa Claus, and my son said, how do I know if he's real, Matthew? I said, you pull the beard. Because I know when I was a kid, if I went to the mall and I was going to sit on Santa Claus's lap, I wanted to make sure I wasn't just wasting my time. I wanted to talk to the man and not an imitation. And so I would always check out that beard. And I would look at it, and if it was one of those store-bought ones, no, we got better things to do. Let's go shopping, Mom. I got to pick up my presents because this guy can do no good for me. And so I remember telling my boy Noah, he goes, well, I don't want to go to a fake one. And I said, boy, pull on the beard. If it's real, we know we're legit. He pulled on the beard. But we know the beard shows authenticity. It's authenticity in the mountains. It's authenticity with a Santa Claus. Salt shows authenticity. Are you salty or not? Now, if you look at this text, this is so essential because in the text, you are salt or not. Now, this is some powerful teaching because the idea that Jesus is saying you are salt or you are trash. This is not a teaching to take lightly. We have heard this so often. We forgot how powerful it is. You are salt or you are trash. Now, this doesn't sit very well with us. But Jesus says you are the salt of the earth or you are to be thrown out. That means, are you salty or not? Are you living a Christian life or not? There's not this, I'm a little salty or not. Have you ever met salt that wasn't salt or not? I have never taken a dab of salt on my tongue and said, water. You are salt or not, and you need to live up to that expectation. He also moves on and he says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 to 16, he says this, you are the light of the world. A city set on the hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. The idea of being the light of the world is so essential. We take light for granted. Look at all the light in this room. And it came so easily. We just flipped a switch. We have light bulbs. But when this was written, light was precious. Light was something that you did not take for granted. If you have ever seen those little lamps that they would use in the first century, they were very tiny, and they would put a little bit of oil in there. This is not like a light bulb. It would barely give enough light to maybe light up a room. And so when he says that you are the light of the world, that little bit of light from that lamp would be most precious. It would be a commodity that you would treasure, and you never wasted light. When you only had a certain amount of oil and it would burn for only a certain amount of time, you treated that oil preciously. But you notice that light doesn't just come from itself. You need something. They burned oil. It means that the light was connected to the source. The only way light can be bright is if it is connected to the proper source. And so if you want your light to shine before men and bring glory to the God, you have to be connected to God. The amount of light that you give off is proportionately connected to the idea of your strong relationship with God. The more you're connected to God, the more that your light will radiate throughout our society, the more that you will have an influence and a leavening effect upon this world. Light is always connected to something, and it is a powerful commodity. Light proves authenticity. But a lot of times we hide our lights. We hide it because we don't want the burden of being light for somebody else. It reminds me, some years ago, I was climbing these mountains called the Crestone Needle and the Crestone Peaks, and they were very difficult mountains. And I always want to grow a beard before I hike because, you know, real men have beards. And so I started growing this nice black beard. But then my friend's name is Nick, but I call him the Viper. And if you ever look on my Facebook, you will notice he wears his Viper shirt every time he hikes with me. One of my best friends. But he told me one day as I was growing my manly hiking beard, he said, you know, Matthew, if you see somebody in the hiking on the mountains, and if they have a beard, that's who you're going to follow if you get lost. And I went home and I thought about that, and I thought, you know, these mountains are really dangerous and hard. I don't think I want that pressure on me. So I went and shaved my beard off. Now, you may not believe me, but I'm going to prove it to you. So if you're in the mountains and you're lost, who are you going to follow? Can we switch to the next one? Are you going to follow this guy? If you're lost, are you going to follow this guy? Or would you follow that guy? Now, does that not prove my point? Who do you think, go back to the other guy, you think he's going to get you out of the woods? Or are you going to think this guy's going to get you out? Who looks legit here in this situation? It's very clear you always follow the man with the beard in the mountains because that guy has been up there for some time. Now, I chickened out because I had a nice beard and I shaved it off. We have too many Christians shaving off their spiritual light. We have too many Christians shaving off their saltiness. Because people will say this to me, I don't want anybody to follow me. Who am I to have somebody follow me? I don't know if I'm a good example. People, when we sit back and we don't even feel confident enough in our faith to be light, to be salt, we are not going to influence this world. When we are not being the people of God and we say, well, don't follow me, don't even come close to my example, we are missing the point. We should say and strive to the best of our ability, I will be salt, I will be light, and I will do everything I can to be that type of influence in our society. We need to quit shaving our spiritual beards off and be very pleased and thankful to be the light for Jesus Christ. This is what Matthew says in 5:16. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. This is why we are doing what we're doing. You are salt. You are light. And Jesus Christ modeled this. Jesus could have stayed up in heaven. He could have kept his saltiness to himself. He could have stayed in heaven and never came to earth to be light. But the reason that we can be salty, the reason that we can be light, is because he modeled it to us. He demonstrated this to us. And because of that, we follow his example. We don't get the option of saying, I don't want to be salt, I don't want to be light. Because we follow the pattern of the master. And the master said, I didn't sit back and say, I won't come. And so in society, if we are going to be like Jesus Christ, we need to say, I will go into this place. I will go into the workforce. I will go into the school. I will go among my friends. I will be salt and light to the best of my ability because Jesus refused to stay in heaven. Therefore, I refuse to stay locked into my church building. And I refuse to be locked into hiding this which God has given me. Reminds me of the story of this friend of mine. I was in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and you should realize that is a huge cultural change for a kid who grew up in Canada. I remember fried pickles, and I still love those things because of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And I stayed with this family, and this family was kind of like the Coopers, and they fed me way too much, and I gained 20 pounds one summer when I was here. And she was a professional cook. And she would make me these huge breakfasts when I stayed there. But one morning, the husband was telling me this story. He was a high-up corporate man, made a ton of money. But he came to his moment where he had to decide what he was going to do. He said, I was so busy working 80, 90 hours a week, I never saw my kids. I don't think my wife remembered my name any longer. I was gone so much. He said, I was so bent on living into this career and being successful that I forgot about my primal ministries. You can always hire somebody else, but your kids only have one daddy. Your wife only has one husband. They are your primal ministries. And he said one day he had enough, and he quit. When I met him, he had this long, flowing beard down to here. It was gray. And he told me that the day he quit was the day he quit shaving. But he kept his beard as a reminder of the commitment that he made to God. The commitment that he made to his kids. The commitment he made to his wife. The commitment that he made to his church. He started his own business. He did very well, and God blessed him. But he was never going to get the priorities of his life out of order again. And the beard was the testament to his commitment to God. When I preached this sermon, all the women were saying, well, we don't have beards, and I'm thankful for that. But I want you to sit back and think. Have you shaved your spiritual beard? Are you hiding your light? Are you hiding your saltiness? Have you allowed the world to win? Has the world so convinced you to hide that which God has given you that you put your head down in shame instead of rise up in His name? Are you proud? And are you pleased? And are you thankful to be light, to be salt? Because you are given that which can only heal this world. Only through our influence and through our leavening can the world be a place of healing, of goodness, and love. God has used us to do great things. And it all started with Him. Jesus Christ came to be light, to be salt to this world. And because of that, we have the opportunity to respond to His gospel. If you will believe, confess, repent, be baptized for remission of your sins, you rise up out of that water to newness of life. And you allow your light, you allow that saltiness to shine throughout your society and throughout your friends. You have that opportunity as we stand and sing the invitation song.